Is Mongo Slade, and today we're going to talk about TLC 2020. A mostly good show. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to be angry about, and let's get right into it. So the kickoff show was an 8-man tag, and it was interesting. I want to hit some notes because I don't think I talked about this stuff before, but the Knights of the Lone Wolf. Oh, I'm sorry. For people who might just be listening and not looking at the screen, the 8-man tag is Chad Gable, Otis, Daniel Bryan, and Big E versus Sami Zayn, King Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Cesaro. So I didn't talk about these two things because they didn't happen. Well, I didn't talk about the Knights of the Lone Wolf, which is a great name for these two guys. They're still very nondescript, but I like the name Knights of the Lone Wolf. That's badass. They also talked a lot about the Sami Zayn spoof of Tom Cruise, where he was yelling at whoever leaked this audio that made him look bad at the stupid Sammy Awards. That was so dumb. That was such a dumb thing. I hated the Sammy Awards, but I did like the spoof that came afterwards. Sami Zayn screaming at somebody that he feeds them and all that type of stuff. That was pretty good. So the match itself still had great stuff between Chad Gable and Cesaro. I like that Gable and Otis continue to kind of go back and forth. But Otis kind of had the match won, even though and Gable didn't want to tag after the Caterpillar. They didn't, of course, do that, and they ended up with Big E pinning Sami Zayn. And throughout the rest of the night, Sami Zayn was angry, trying to figure out who leaked this audio. Kyla Braxton wouldn't tell him, and then it was, then he went to bother Big E, who was laughing with R-Truth and having a little fun with R-Truth. And Big E basically said, "Hey, you keep playing, I'm gonna come after you." And the match was announced that it will be Big E versus Sami Zayn for the Intercontinental Championship on SmackDown. So this was pretty good. It was a fun, fast-paced match. Daniel Bryan, I know a lot of people complained that Daniel Bryan was on the kickoff show. Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, all on the kickoff show. You have to realize Sami Zayn got the book. Not Sami Zayn, but Daniel Bryan got the book, meaning he's one of the writers for SmackDown, and he put himself on the kickoff show. And if Daniel Bryan could be on the kickoff show, everybody else can too. So it's all right. It's not that big of a deal. It just needed to fill some time, and it furthered all of the stories involved. So it had good potential, and it worked out. So the first, let's talk about I didn't put these in order. I didn't put these in order. All right, I completely forget to reorder these things. I put them in the order that I think they're going to be in, and not in the order that they actually were in. I need to probably put them in appropriate orders. But let's go into the order that I got it right now. So the Hurt Business won the Raw Tag Team Championships from the New Day. The previous promo was that the Hurt Business basically says that they were going to be Big Match New Day. The New Day said they were going to be Big Match New Day. And they got Charlie to swivel her hips. My Lord, Charlie with her beautiful lips, swiveling her hips. And I was like, okay. Now, this match was pretty good. I like that Cedric Alexander's new character or new personality trait is that he's very impatient, that he's very excitable. So he kind of ran across the ring trying to, and got super kicked almost immediately, which was funny because Undertaker, Triple H, and Shawn Michaels was kind of laughing at that how super kicks were being exploited in wrestling today. And Undertaker said something like, "Your kick is right after the bell rings." So that literally happened in this match. Right after the bell rang, Cedric Alexander bolted across the ring and got super kicked. I like that the Cedric Alexander is the one who got the pin. He got the pin on Kofi Kingston, who was a former WWE champion, so that's pretty cool. And with the lumbar check, there were some pretty cool spots in here too, like the boom drop got countered. But this was a pretty good, fast-paced match. It was pretty crisp. I enjoyed the hell out of it, man. The finish saw Shelton Benjamin getting blind tagged from behind by Cedric Alexander, and he did the lumbar check on Kofi Kingston and got the pin. So Shelton Benjamin kind of got screwed out of a pin, but he was kind of dawdling, doing the old "get up, come on, get up," and then he got blind tagged. So there was a little bit of Shelton was not really happy at first, but he kind of like, okay, we won, so no big deal, you know. So that was pretty cool, you know. But this was a good match. I enjoyed this. The next match, Carmella versus Sasha Banks. This match was surprisingly good, and I mean, like, it was surprisingly good in so much that they did a little bit of everything. Where they had some cool spots, they also had some really good psychology. Like, it's an embarrassment that, you know, the WWE Women's division actually puts more effort into their storytelling and psychology than a lot of men in a lot of other places. You know, like, I guess because some of them are not really natural wrestlers, so they rely very, very heavily on the basics. And I meant to say this. I don't think I've said this before, but that champagne toast was a real Garbo segment. It was trash. It was way too long, and it wasn't funny, and it wasn't interesting. It sucked. I also learned that the silhouette dancing is Carmella. You know, I denied it before because I didn't think she could move like that, but it really was her. It's just the camera angle. We also learned the sommelier's name is Reginald. So, okay, we got Reginald. But there were some really cool spots in this match. I like that, you know, Carmella went straight for the back. You know, she powdered at first, you know, trying to escape Sasha Banks, who was, you know, a little bit on the angry side. She got her back smashed with champagne bottles twice. So that was Carmella's opening. She went for the back and spine area, which is basic psychology, makes sense. I like that there were some counters. There was some really good counter wrestling in here. Not, you know, chain wrestling, but there were some good slips and escapes and stuff like that here. There was whatever that edge move is that where he pulled you backwards. Carmella did that on the ring apron to Sasha Banks after escaping, sliding through her legs where she was trying to do something to her, and which is great because it targets the lower back and spine. So that was a really good thing. Also, Carmella did a really good X Factor, which was sold very well by Sasha Banks, who almost spiked herself like Rob Van Dam on the top of her head. You know, so it was really dope. Like, it was a tilt-a-whirl that Carmella countered into an X Factor, which is, you know, a face buster, which is pretty cool. They did a super Hurricane Rana from the second rope. Carmella did this, and it was countered into a sunset flip. So that was pretty smooth. I mean, I kind of didn't like it, but I was surprised neither one of them died. Like, I think the low bar for like, nobody died and nobody was seriously injured. So I was kind of like, okay, cool. But also there was some legitimate good shit in here. Like, there was some really cool submissions by Carmella. She did one, what I forget, it was like, what they call it, a double underhook or a double wrist lock or something like that. Where it just looked like a really cool, sweet submission. Of course, she had her code of silence, which was really cool too. Reginald actually saved Carmella when she was in the bank statement once. He pulled her outside the ring. And then, of course, you know, Sasha Banks beat him up, got her in the bank statement again, and Sasha Banks won. So now we got Sasha Banks and Carmella has taken one L. Now they're 1-1 technically. And since the Royal Rumble is 6 weeks from today, we're going to probably have another match on SmackDown, because there's just no way that they're going to be able to make this last another 6 weeks. So I was probably right that there will probably be one more blow-off match for SmackDown. But this match was really enjoyable. I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed it. Would I watch it again? Probably not. It's not, but I didn't, you know, roll my eyes at anything in this match. And it was actually pretty decent. So, okay. Now, a lot of people were very angry about this. So, the match is Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler versus Asuka and Charlotte Flair for the for the Women's Tag Team Championships. Now, a lot of people were angry that it was Charlotte. I was one of those people. Now, I was angry not because I hate Charlotte. I actually think I love Charlotte. I think Charlotte is one of the best female wrestlers in the world. Hell, she's damn near one of the best wrestlers in the world. As far as being able to tell a story and be able to perform, she's top notch. Period. Male or female. It's just not the place for her. That's the thing. You know, taking Lana out of this match was bad storytelling. That's my key focal point. If you want to get anything from this channel, it is I talk about stories. I don't just rant and rave about wrestling. I talk about stories. The story was Lana needed to win the tag team championships. The story was between Lana and Nia Jax. We got a bit of a catharsis when Lana pinned Nia Jax. That was a bit of a catharsis. That, of course, is not the be-all, end-all of it. The wholeness of it is to embarrass Nia Jax by taking the title from her. But that's not what we got. What we got is Lana taken out of the match for only for the reason of we're going to bring Charlotte in. And there's no real reason for Charlotte to be there. So that's really why I didn't like. I was like, well, I'm cool with Charlotte coming back. I'm cool with Charlotte coming back and mixing it up with the top women. She's a top performer. This just wasn't the place for it. This just wasn't the spot. Also, you got Asuka is permanently handcuffed to Charlotte. It's just like, she just can't get away. And this is one of the reasons why, people get so angry about Charlotte. Is because it feels like she's very privileged. Where she gets to come back and get a title the moment she comes back in. You have Lana, who was on TV. And I know it's weird, right? Like, a lot of people are like, you guys really wanted Lana? It's like, yeah, because people are paying attention to the story. You're being a fucking mark for, well, this person's a bigger star. Like, that's not the point. The point is you've invested all of this time. Like, let's put it in this terms. Let's say you planted an apple tree. You planted an apple seed and bell peppers grew. Are you going to be happy that you got healthy bell peppers? Or are you going to say, what the fuck? I planted apples. I want apples. So that's the point. We planted Lana in this storyline. Nobody wanted Lana to be there, but she was there. You invested all this time and energy into this. Bear the fucking fruit. That's what people want. It's not the point of, well, Charlotte is better than Lana. It's like, duh. A heart attack is damn near better than Lana. That's not the point. The point is, you planted apples. Apples should grow. So, you can't just, that was so frustrating to me. Because it was completely unfair. It was completely ridiculous. All you had to do was give Lana the belt, and then you could take it tomorrow. Take it the next day. That's all you had to do. But now we stuck with Charlotte as a tag team champion. I don't even remember what Charlotte was doing when she left. I think my brother told me, because he has a better memory than I do, that Charlotte's last match was actually against Asuka. So maybe that's where they were going to build off of this, and maybe they're going to have Charlotte and Asuka at Royal Rumble. I would not be a fan of that because they have wrestled so many times, and also that just means that Asuka's going to drop the belt to Charlotte, which I'm not a fan of. One more thing before we get into the match itself. Charlotte obviously had got a breast reduction. She moved a lot better. That's for sure. Now, I don't like babyface Charlotte. That's not going to last. That's not good, and it's not going to last. But the breast reduction was okay. It's probably the better move. This first time I've said out loud that somebody having less boobs is the right thing. But it was probably better for her long term to have the breast reduction or to take her implants out. It wouldn't be fair to call it a breast reduction. It's more like she took her implants out, which is fine. That's fine. All right, let's get into this match. I like that Baszler worked the wrist and shoulder of Asuka. That seems to be Baszler's, forte is, she's really good at, being technical. I don't like that Shayna Baszler took the pinfall here, which she's been the one that they've been beating this whole time. Charlotte pinned Shayna Baszler with the natural selection. 2-belt Asuka is great, but Charlotte, it was a bummer because I really would have preferred, honestly, like I said, you plant apples, I expect apples to grow. So we kind of wanted, this is Lana's spot, in my opinion. I don't like that. And yes, it does make Charlotte seem very, very, very privileged that she gets to jump right back into her title picture, after being gone for a long time. And it's not going to be the same for everybody else. So you already know that when Naomi comes back and doesn't win a title immediately, everyone's going to be like, well, Charlotte got the title as soon as she came back. And it's going to be like, oh, shit. But the match itself wasn't that bad. It also wasn't that good. It was basically a showcase for Charlotte. Asuka was the babyface in peril. Nia Jax did what Nia Jax does, and Shayna Baszler does what she does. I don't know about Shayna Baszler, man. I feel for her because she's the one that's been getting beat all this time. So hopefully Shayna Baszler is about to get this run with Asuka and not Nia Jax or Charlotte. But I can tell you right now, there's probably going to be Charlotte. And it's probably going to have to build up this 6 weeks to build up Charlotte and before the heel turn, and she wins the title from Asuka. So I don't know, man. This this one only upset me because, like I said, story is an important thing. So the Fiend versus Randy Orton. Oh my good God. Oh my God. Okay, so first everybody was I was kind of like, where's the fire? And I think everybody was thinking that, like, there was no rails around the ring, so the entire Thunderdome itself was basically on fire. And the match itself was like part cinematic, part live action. It felt like some of it was like a pastiche of live action and cinematic match. I didn't see anything that what anybody said like, oh well, we're not involved in this. Like, there's nothing going on. So maybe it was like the drone camera but they actually shot this match very well. The match was beautifully shot. There wasn't a lot of excessive cuts. There wasn't a lot of excessive nonsense in it. But I loved how the Inferno match was cut. I mean, how it was shot. It was shot very well. It was shot for drama. It was and it was good. So the cinematic approach to it, not cinematic as in movie style, but the way that the match was shot with the different cameras was really good. Now let's get into the match itself. The Firefly Carol, I hated that. I hated it when I saw it earlier. I hate these corny Christmas carols. I don't see the point of it. When Randy Orton came out fully clothed, I was like, Randy Orton going to get burnt. Because, look, the reason why I'm not upset that the Fiend lost is because I expected the Fiend to lose. Now, in my TLC prediction video, I picked the Fiend. But if you remember correctly, I said this match is set up for the Fiend to lose. Now, the reason why I said that, not just because he was probably going to be the one wearing the most clothes, but from the fire you start, fire is destructive. Once they start telling the story of the Fiend being born from fire, it kind of tells the story also that the Fiend was going to be destroyed by fire. So the match itself was very interesting. They did a lot of interesting things that were very symbolic. Fire itself is symbolic. Of course, it's the great destroyer. Just like, sometimes water is, they say water is the liquid of life. Fire is the opposite. It's the great destroyer. It destroys everything. So they burned the Wyatt chair. They burned it. There was also the Fiend burning various weapons like whips and axe handles, trying to hit Orton with them. Of course, he didn't actually make any contact. Orton's emoting, his acting was actually pretty good in this match too, especially when the fires shot up, when they first shot up, and he was like frightened, and he kind of did the digging his nails into the ring, trying to escape from the Fiend. That was pretty good too. So the finish came from Orton reversing the mandible claw as the Fiend was backing him towards the rails. He just flipped it around, and the Fiend's jacket got caught on fire. And the Fiend was on fire, and instead of stopping, and they didn't immediately put him out. He didn't get put out at all, actually. He charged into the ring and caught an RKO. And while he got hit with the RKO, he was down for what felt like 10 minutes. And having seen all of the carnage before this, I didn't like that. Okay, I didn't like the idea that, we had, Kevin Owens, going through the kind of stuff that he went through. We'll go through that in a minute. Same thing with AJ Styles, same thing with Drew McIntyre. And the Fiend, who is a supernatural monster, gets hit with one RKO, which was probably, it's not the worst thing he got hit with all night. I believe he got, Orton attacked him with like steel chain, steel stairs, in order to fight back, because he was actually getting destroyed for most of this match. So this was like the top level offensive hold that Randy Orton does. And the Fiend was just down forever, and just down forever and ever and ever, as Randy Orton poured gasoline on the Fiend and then set him on fire. And I was like, whoa. That was very graphic. That was, would you call it adult themed? But I wasn't upset by the Fiend losing because I kind of expected the Fiend to lose. Uh, to be quite honest, I saw somebody say that the Fiend was a failure. I'm like, how the fuck is he a failure? He sold a ton of merchandise, moved the needle. This is the next stage of the character. You know, there's going to be some following stage to this. Now, this is what you would call, maybe, I would imagine it is a comma, not a period. Okay, to use a Sami Zayn line, when he says Sami Zayn says that certain moves are commas, others are periods. This is more of a comma than a period. That Bray Wyatt's his revenge train against Randy Orton is not complete. That Randy Orton survived the original Bray Wyatt, and then we brought the Fiend in, and now Randy Orton survives the Fiend. But there is still more to the story. Okay, now it may be a little bit difficult to see, but there's still a lot more to the story. That I don't think that you're gonna just have, oh no, because what are you gonna do? Bray Wyatt is not gonna appear ever again? Is that what you think? No, it's not gonna work. You think he's gonna go back to being Swamp Man Bray? No, he's not gonna go back to being Swamp Man Bray. This guy's not old enough to retire. What they're gonna do is there really is nothing else for the Fiend to do. That's really why, you know, I'm very calm about this whole thing. If the Fiend had beaten Randy Orton, what is there left for him to do? Nothing. It really is nothing for him to do. So you can't put the Fiend in the Royal Rumble. So what are you going to do? You're just going to have him wrestling random guys? It's like, Now, what you could do, theoretically, because, again, they still have the Alexa Bliss part of it. So maybe you're going to have Alexa Bliss resurrect the Fiend. Now, that would be interesting. But the Fiend is a horror movie villain, like Freddy Krueger, like Jason Voorhees, like Michael Myers. They always die and are reborn. Undertaker went through the same thing. So when people be like, oh, look at the Fiend, he lost. Oh, he lost. It's like, well, Undertaker lost casket matches too. You know, relax. Chill out. All right, chill out. You know, but we got this great visual out of this, of the Fiend's charred body. Which, you know, now we could take some time to give him a break. That we started seeing the Fiend too much, so we took him away. So now we have to rebuild it. So now what do we do with Randy Orton? Now Randy Orton can go back to being, you know, main event Randy Orton, trying to chase the title and different things like that, preparing for the Royal Rumble, which he can do because he's a regular wrestler. The Fiend can't do that. You know, Fiend doesn't have the privilege of, well, I'm going to go be in the Royal Rumble. It's like, no. What we may see is some type of Firefly Funhouse thing where, you know, we start laying the groundwork for the Fiend's return. Or maybe he disappears for 4 months, you know, until WrestleMania time, and then he reappears. Which is probably going to be the goal here, is to write him off TV for a little while. Because the Fiend had been very overexposed as far as wrestling a little too often throughout the year. Even though we know he didn't wrestle like every single week. But I think he was at least once every couple of months kind of guy, you know. But to keep him as a special attraction, you have to take him away sometimes. And that seems to that makes sense to me in this instance. And Randy Orton, of course, you know, the Fiend didn't gain anything from beating Randy Orton anyway. But it would have been a nice little punctuation to this story, but they're not done with the story yet. Now we're telling the story that Pyromaniac Randy Orton has burned the shack. And now he's burned the Fiend. What could possibly be next? What nightmare could possibly be next? And I think that's actually interesting. This is actually interesting, a cliffhanger for the end of the show, is that there's going to be a lot of people who are going to say, well, what more can you do? Because, you know, you've killed the Fiend. You've killed him. He's dead. It's like, maybe. Remember, Undertaker was buried alive. He didn't die. He got beaten casket matches. He didn't die. You know? Only thing I didn't like about this thing was the finish. Only thing I didn't like about it was the finish, because one RKO shouldn't have been enough. It should have been an RKO, and then, you probably hit him with a bunch of shit, or you set him on fire, and then or could have did something that was even probably cooler, where maybe you could have set like a dumpster on fire and throw him in it, like they did with Kane. Like they did that to Kane once, where there was like a dumpster that was on fire and they knocked Kane in it, and then Kane returned. Because supernatural characters, they get burned, they lose these kind of special matches all the time, and they just come back crazier and stronger and more diabolical and more evil than before. So act like you've been here before. So if you're flipping out about the Fiend losing, stop it. You've been here before. All right, so the first match on the show was Drew McIntyre and AJ Styles, which of course ended up becoming a triple threat match with The Miz. Boy, I saw a lot of people so very angry that The Miz cashed in his Money in the Bank and lost. Here's the thing about that. Did The Miz cash in the Money in the Bank, or did John Morrison cash in the Money in the Bank? ... It was John Morrison. John Morrison cashed in the Money in the Bank. So that's how The Miz is going to get out of this. He's going to say, I didn't cash it in. John Morrison cashed it in. John Morrison can't cash it in because I'm the Money in the Bank winner. Therefore, I never lost. Give me my briefcase back. That's the first thing we need to get out of this whole thing. The Miz is going to get his Money in the Bank back because he technically didn't cash it in. John Morrison did. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, this match was pretty good. It was very different in that, it was very psychological. AJ Styles actually worked a limb. He went after the legs of Drew McIntyre, using the calf crusher. Also with the ladder, also with a chair. I like the phenomenal forearm spot where, he tried to run across the table and he got caught and, got overhead belly to belly into the ladder. I like the gorilla press spot where McIntyre gorilla pressed AJ and tossed him from the ring to the floor through a table. The Money in the Bank cash in, I kind of felt that it was going to be botched the moment they did it. They kind of set it up earlier in the night when they asked, Morrison and Miz, who's the Money in the Bank winner? It's like, duh, it's the Miz. And then, Morrison was like, I'll get the first shot though. Like, I get the first shot. And she was like, I forget, I think it might have been Kayla Blackstone or maybe Charlie Caruso, which one of them. Was like, which one of you actually takes it home? And it was like, it's the Miz's Money in the Bank, obviously. But John Morrison gets the first shot, so he's going to help. So they came in, and they basically didn't do anything. Almost grabbed the Miz, carried him like an infant, and dumped him through a table. John Morrison then smashes a chair over Omos's back. Omos backs down Jomo. Jomo flees from the ring apron, from the ring area. Almost leaves to go follow him, and neither one of them ever return, which is really, really weird that they would not return. Miz nearly had the title. I was kind of sitting back like, okay, but it was very close. But this match was okay. It was good. I liked it. I didn't really care for the cash in spot. I really don't care for the Miz's involvement in this at all. It's setting up quite possibly for AJ Styles to get a rematch because the Miz interfered and the Miz interrupted this match. So maybe he wants a rematch. You're also going to have the Miz basically saying, I didn't lose, reset that, give me that back. So I don't like that idea that we're going to just put everybody back in their original place after this and that there's no consequences. Because I can foresee the Miz getting his Money in the Bank briefcase back. I can foresee AJ Styles saying, I would have won if it wasn't for the Miz. The Miz got in my match and I lost. I didn't lose, the Miz lost. And basically we're just going to keep everything the same. And that's the problem with Raw, is nothing changes. Like, you had this really big match. You did some really interesting stuff in here. You told a decent story with the leg injury of Drew McIntyre. You told a decent story with the Miz trying to cash in the Money in the Bank in the middle of the match, which was real dumb. Real dumb. You could at least waited till after the match. But to put everybody back in their right back in their spot after this match by saying, okay, AJ Styles gets a rematch because the Miz interfered, and the Money in the Bank briefcase goes back to The Miz, because technically The Miz didn't cash in the Money in the Bank briefcase. John Morrison did. And Drew McIntyre is still the champion. That just puts all the pieces back on the board, exactly where they were last week. I don't like that idea. The only thing that they could do that really would make sense to me is to say, The Miz, okay, you cashed in your Money in the Bank, you lost. Now we can start telling this story of Miz and Morrison breaking up. And then maybe you can do something with them and AJ Styles. Maybe begin the AJ Styles babyface turn, which is kind of sorely needed. I don't know when the last time he was a babyface, if we're being honest. Was it last year? Was he a babyface at all in 2019? I don't remember. But Drew McIntyre is still Drew McIntyre. He gains nothing. He lost nothing, which is not good, because he should gain something from winning. Even if it's just momentum. But he didn't get to beat AJ Styles straight up. He got to basically fight off The Miz, which that's fine, I guess. But the match itself was okay. I didn't have a problem with the match. I didn't take umbrage with anything. Nothing bothered me. So, it was a good match. And so Kevin Owens versus Roman Reigns and Jey Uso in a handicap match for the Universal Championship. Oh no, I didn't misspeak. It really was a handicap match, because you had Kevin Owens fighting two guys by himself. And like I said, like, this match and the first match really made the superhuman villain look far more mortal than anyone. All of the crap Kevin Owens took just on Friday, okay, and this is why I got really heated about them doing too much on Friday, is because now you have everybody else is in comparison to this. If you knew you were just going to have the Fiend get hit with one RKO and getting kept down, why would you have Kevin Owens go through 400 fucking tables, get hit with stairs, get hit with chairs, have to fight off two people? Like, you have to think about that stuff. This is stuff they used to think about when they used to, book Undertaker, when they used to book Kane. They used to think about those types of things. How would it look? Like, Undertaker got beat up by 11 villains once. Like, that was an enormous number of people. And then when he got buried alive, it was like 42 people came out and buried him alive. It wasn't like, oh, he got hit one time and buried alive. It's like, no. It was a lot of different things, that was going on. And they really gypped the Fiend on that, because they made Kevin Owens like he was the fucking Fiend. All of the fucking damage he was taking in this match, it was, again, like I said, it reached cartoonish levels. It reached cartoonish levels of violence. Now, I did like the match overall. I think that the match was pretty good. I liked the story they were telling about, Kevin Owens being tough, being tenacious, they kept using the word rebellious. But, he kept coming. And that's not a bad story to tell for a babyface, is that he has a never die attitude. But you have to temper that. You have to put things in this proper place psychologically. You had Roman at one point absolutely stabbing this man with stairs over and over and over again, stabbing him with chairs and stuff over and over and over again. And he kept getting up. It's like, why couldn't that be at the end? Where, okay, I like the guillotine finish. Don't get me wrong. The guillotine finish where, Kevin Owens was on the top of the ladder and he was choked out, and then Roman just kind of pushed him and he fell over. Okay, I like that too. But in the middle of the match, you got this guy just getting hit over and over and over and over and over and over again. And then he get right back up. And you'd be like, okay, nothing matters. Like at this point, nothing matters. You have, I did like also how they tried to write off Jey Uso. Now, if they'd have got Jey Uso out of there from that point where, he tried to super kick Kevin Owens. Kevin Owens hit his leg with a chair. Then he Pillmanized his leg, and the referees carried Jey out because Jey was, my leg. Okay, cool. We got Jey out of here. Even better than my idea, if we being honest, because you had Kevin Owens take Jey Uso out himself and not, his backups or whatever. Okay, cool. But then Jay came back. And then Jay kept coming back. And then he kept coming back. So it's like, at what point, it's like, it was not, and it wasn't just that it was an impossible, situation, because you want your baby faces to be in an impossible situation. But it was cartoonish. It was like, nobody should have to absorb that much punishment. And then still almost win. It's like, come on, man. I don't know about this, dog. And I think the match was good overall, but I didn't like the story. Kind of was like, the psychology of it just didn't make sense to me. It just seems weird that you would have one guy take so much damage, in a match with two other guys. It just didn't seem to make sense to me. I did like that, Roman got frustrated because Kevin Owens kept getting up. And then he says, I'm going to carry this belt. He said it was kind of offhand. He said, I'm going to carry this belt for 3 years and I'm chucking up the deuce. I'm getting out of here. like 3 years and that's it. I'm out. 3 years, I have enough money. I'm out of here. And then he told Kevin Owens that he was embarrassing his family, which I thought was pretty cool. I also like the idea of Roman Reigns being so angered and frustrated by Kevin Owens that he charged him while he was at the barricade, and then Kevin Owens sidestepped him and he barreled through the barricade, which I thought that was cool too. Like, those were good, I guess you could say, false finishes for this kind of match. But ultimately, man, I was definitely concerned that we were reaching Looney Tunes levels of just putting people through tables and hitting people with chairs, and that nothing would matter. And that's the important thing in wrestling. Is that the psychology of it, that everything has to matter. You just can't have action. You have to take your time. They did parts of that well, where Roman was dominating. He kept hitting Kevin Owens and Kevin Owens kept getting up. This was the good stuff. Because it was similar to the Jey Uso stuff, where Jey would continue to fight back no matter how bad he was being beaten. But we wasn't putting Jey through 6 tables. We weren't spearing him through the table, power bombing him through the table. We weren't doing all that stuff. We didn't have extra people running in. It was like, it just didn't feel right to me. It didn't sit right with me as far as the story is concerned. Even the idea of Kevin Owens starting the match extremely fast and extremely hot, he didn't even have an entrance. He attacked Roman during Roman's entrance. It's like, that even felt weird to me, because we just buried you under a ton of fucking shit and beat that shit that we buried you in with chairs. And now you're right back up. And it's like, I can't help but think, why would we put that much effort into this? Other than, now I did see during the video package, I know I'm all over the place, but bear with me here. I did see in the video package, they talked about his family, and they showed pictures of him walking with his kids and stuff. That's his motivation. I get it. But I just don't see how we needed to do that much. Like, why? This was a very weird match. It was very weird. And the fact that they didn't, and I don't need a swerve in a Vince Russo type of way, but they didn't swerve it in any way where, again, somebody came to help. They didn't take out Jey. Jey was still standing there at the end. So it was like, what really was accomplished? Nothing was accomplished. We had Kevin Owens go through this gauntlet of just being put through tables, beat with stairs, beat with chairs. Same shit we did on Friday. Just did it again here. Talks a little bit more shit. It kind of means more because it's taking place in the actual match. But they basically did the same thing that they did on Friday. And that was my problem with what they did on Friday, is that you just did this. So then there was no preparation for how was Kevin Owens going to stop it tonight or stop it on that show. Like, there's something to be said about the villains or whatever tipping their hand. Like, let's say you did do something like that. Like you were going to tip your hand and show that you was going to have people helping, people interfering. Wouldn't then you be prepared for it when they came on the day of the show? But it almost felt like Kevin Owens did not take any time to prepare. He didn't think about it. He just said, okay, well, we're going to fight, so we're going to go fight. And that was it. There was no special, like Sami Zayn, like he when he did the ladder match, he came prepared. He had like handcuffs when he handcuffed Jeff Hardy's ear to the ladder and stuff like that. Like that takes preparation. You know, you could tell like the character was thinking, that he thought about this, that of the possibilities going into the match. He thought about it beforehand. He put some effort into it. In this issue, if you could have done something similar, where you could have had maybe Jey Uso handcuffed to Paul Heyman. Like how something simple as that could have nullified Jey Uso, because now he's got to carry around Paul Heyman in order to interfere in the match. Right? Like that would have been something small that you could have done that could have changed this match completely. Like, I don't see how, and look, I know that Roman, he doesn't really need the help, which is another reason why I was kind of like, because I know he didn't need it. You mean to tell me Roman Reigns can't beat Kevin Owens? No, of course he can. So why does he need so much help? It's because Kevin Owens is tough? Like, okay, you can still show that he's tough by having Roman basically break him, which is what we showed before where you had Roman break Jey. You can do something similar to this in this instance. But I just didn't like the idea of, we're just going to have a straight up handicap match and no officials, nobody did anything. Not even beforehand. And there's something to be said about making sure that when the heels are supposed to cheat, right? But if there is no rules, then there is no cheating, right? So that means technically Roman didn't cheat because there was no rules. But so then where's the heat? That's the question. Like, where's the heat? Of course. Why didn't you bring your cousins? Kevin Owens? I brought my cousins. I basically told you I was bringing my cousin. You didn't bring your cousins. So it's your fault that you lost. It took me a while to get there, but that's my mind state. Is that it's the ECW problem. Where ECW had no fucking rules. So that means if somebody interfered, oh well, no rules. So it was similar here. Like, okay, no rules. So Jey can interfere. So what? What are you going to do about it? Fight Jey off? Okay, well, good luck with that. I brought my cousin. You should have brought yours. So, but overall, I like the show. Just some story things didn't make sense to me. This was one of them. My final thoughts. I think that the show was very, very polarizing. I did peek on Twitter before I did my review. And I found that a lot of people were angry about a lot of things. Mostly people were angry about Charlotte. A lot of people were angry about The Miz. I didn't care about either one of those things that much. Again, The Miz interference kind of made sense in terms of the story because they basically told you The Miz was going to interfere. I do believe they're going to give him his Money in the Bank back. I do believe that. I do believe that Kevin Owens is probably going to get a rematch because of the interference from Jey Uso. I'm just really concerned that this event is going to get thrown under the rug because it's just going to redo so much of it again. And that's really one of my problems is I can see Sasha Banks and Carmella running it back. I can see that. Carmella won one of these matches by disqualification. She should get a rematch. Okay, she's 1-1 with Sasha Banks. I can understand the Fiend losing. The Fiend is a horror movie villain. Those guys die and come back all the time. Makes perfect sense. I can even understand to some degree. Well, I love the Hurt Business winning. I understand Charlotte coming back. You want to bring back, you need some star power for Raw. You bring Charlotte back. Now you got somebody at least that people know and care about. But again, it just wasn't the right time for Charlotte. So it's a very polarizing show. There's a lot to be upset about. I choose not to be upset. I choose to try to understand. And I think I understand a lot of these things. and I'm trying to prognosticate or see into the future of what's going to happen on these shows. And I just see, like, basically, because the Royal Rumble is so far away, it's very difficult. It's actually quite interesting because the Royal Rumble is so far away that, you know, they're probably going to build up, they're probably going to blow off a lot of this stuff on TV, which is going to be good for, usually for the ratings, I guess. Except for The Fiend and Randy Orton, there's really not much they can do. But other than Randy Orton gloating that he set The Fiend on fire. But that ought to be interesting, you know. So I like the show overall. I do think it was a good show overall. Some storyline decisions I harp on because they didn't make much sense. But overall, I like the show. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comment section below. Like this video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. If you liked what I do, send me money. If you want to disagree with me, please feel free to do so. Thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later.